You ever wonder what a spiritual roadmap to enlightenment would actually look like? I mean, not just for one person, but a path that's designed to help everyone. Well, today, we're going to dive into an ancient text that lays out exactly that, a 10-stage journey of some really profound transformation. Okay, let's get into it.
So our guide for this whole thing is the Sutra of the 10 Stages. It's a Buddhist scripture from way back in the Eastern Jin dynasty. And it's so important because it captures a direct teaching from the Buddha, answering a question that is, just as relevant today as it was over 1,500 years ago.
The entire teaching, and this is pretty cool, it all unfolds from this one single, really powerful moment. So the scene is set with the Buddha. He's just finished a talk, and the great disciple Mañjuśrī, who is known for his incredible wisdom, he steps forward to ask a question on behalf of, everyone.
And that is the question that frames our entire journey today. What Mañjuśrī is basically asking is, what does it actually take? What qualities do you need to build up to successfully walk this path of service and awakening? It's a question that gets right to the heart of the whole spiritual path.
Okay, before we go any further, we absolutely have to clarify this key term, Bodhisattva. This isn't just someone who's looking for their own personal peace. No, a Bodhisattva is driven by this immense compassion. They make this heroic vow to stay involved with the world, helping every single being find freedom from suffering before they themselves enter final nirvana. This whole path, it's for them. So the Buddha responds by laying out the first 3 stages. And you should really think of these as the essential foundation. I mean, without this groundwork, a really powerful motivation, a compassionate heart, and a wise perspective, the rest of the journey, it's just not going to happen. It all begins right here with this moment of just profound inspiration. The sutra says the journey kicks off when you see the Buddha, you recognize his perfect qualities, and you feel this overwhelming desire to develop those exact same qualities inside yourself. And this isn't just, simple admiration. It's the actual spark that ignites the entire path.
So the key thing in this first stage is turning that inspiration into a real concrete intention. You see the Buddha's wisdom and compassion, and you don't just say, wow, you actually make a vow. You say, I am going to gain those abilities. Powers like perfect knowledge and fearlessness, not for myself, but so I can effectively guide everyone else out of their suffering.
Now that powerful intention, it naturally leads right into the second stage. This is where the focus really builds and shifts outward, cultivating a heart that is completely, 100% dedicated to others. This is where the motivation becomes a lived emotional reality.
Now, what's so amazing here is just how radical this compassion is. The text doesn't just say, be nice. It says to see every single person, no exceptions, with the same deep respect you'd show your most beloved teacher or even the Buddha himself. It's a total, profound shift in how you see the world.
Okay, stage 3. This is kind of the philosophical turning point. Aspiration and compassion, they're absolutely essential, but without wisdom, they can be misguided. This stage is all about developing a deep, penetrating insight into the real nature of, everything.
And this right here, this is the core insight. The Bodhisattva really thinks about how everything we experience is constantly changing, that nothing has a fixed, independent existence. And this isn't some downer, pessimistic view. It's actually incredibly liberating. It's the wisdom that frees the mind from attachment, which is the root cause of our suffering. Okay, so with that solid foundation of aspiration, compassion, and wisdom in place, the journey now gets a lot deeper. These next 4 stages are all about putting that understanding into practice, developing a resolve that's so powerful it becomes this unstoppable force for good in the world. These middle stages, this is where the inner work becomes outer action. The Bodhisattva deepens their resolve. They make every single act an act of service. They forge a mind that cannot be shaken by life's ups and downs. And then, finally, they reach a point where there's no turning back on their journey to enlightenment.
So, to really get stage 6 mental equanimity, just look at this. The sutra explains that the Bodhisattva's mind becomes so stable that it stays completely undisturbed, whether people are praising what they're doing or criticizing it. Their inner peace just isn't dependent on what other people think anymore.
This is a massive milestone. The name itself, Avinivartaniya, literally means non-retreating. At this stage, the Bodhisattva's faith and their progress are so deeply rooted that absolutely nothing can shake them. I mean, even if someone were to argue that the path doesn't exist or that Buddhas aren't real, their mind just stays unwavering. They're locked in on the path to enlightenment.
All right, now we're entering the final stages, and this is where the Bodhisattva's journey really culminates in these extraordinary levels of mastery. Here, their abilities expand way beyond the personal, reaching a truly cosmic scale of wisdom and compassionate action.
So you can really see the progression here, right? It moves from perfecting one's own being in stage 8 to then gaining this profound, almost clairvoyant understanding of every single being's journey in stage 9, and then finally, in stage 10, manifesting the power to actually help all of them.
And the scale of this final stage is, well, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The sutra says the Bodhisattva vows to teach, to comfort, and to help beings along the path across innumerable Buddha fields, which basically means across countless universes. Their capacity to help becomes literally infinite.
So, after all that, what do we take away from this epic 10-stage journey? It's a path that starts with just a single spark of inspiration and ends in universal service, beautifully weaving together wisdom and compassion at every single step.
You know, the sutra itself ends on this beautiful communal note. After hearing the Buddha lay out this path, the whole assembly of bodhisattvas doesn't just quietly think about it. No, they erupt in joy, and their collective understanding actually manifests as a brilliant light. It just shows that this path isn't a lonely struggle, but a shared celebration of potential.
And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This text, yeah, it's ancient, but its core message is absolutely timeless. It gives us this profound model for a life of purpose. So the real question for us is, how can the ideals of this path, this union of deep understanding and radical, all-encompassing compassion, how can that shape our own actions in the world right now?